too with a person I've connected with in Germany. So we're able to collaborate or communicate using that. And more, I find myself translating into other languages. It's truly a global organization that we've got going on here. It
Yeah.
truly is. I
Yeah.
mean, most of the subscribers I'm getting are outside the United States.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's why I was saying when I did my share, in the Thrive the other day, is don't don't discard that as not being a spiritual connection, because it is a spiritual connection the moment that you are engaged with someone clear across the other side of the world who
oh yeah,
shares the same interests, and it sparks, it sparks something within each person to say, wow,
yeah,
look at that.
yes,
I'm talking and engaging with someone clear on the other side of the world, and there's a sense of oneness, you know?
there is. Yes, and that has come up with Romualdus, who is another Thrive connection that is over in Iceland. He's actually Lithuanian, but he has been, I don't know if he's using Translate or what, but he's able to converse in English, and he's like one of us. He is a seeker, truth holder, messenger. I mean, he gets it. He knows these things. So he and I have been collaborating quite a bit, and that's what was interesting the other day when you sent me that link to Alex Collier. That was the exact website that Romualdus was pointing out as saying, "Hey, you've got to check this out." Now,
Yeah,
I didn't actually see that one. I saw the other one in '96 about him being at the ranch where he was amongst his own people and everything was la la land and very good. Um, so I've yet to see it, but it was just, it just astounds me when these kind of coincidences come up. And of course, we know about coincidences.
there's no such thing as coincidence. It's all
Yeah,
divinely
yeah,
ordained.
yeah, and there's just no questioning it. So I just, it's these little things like that that just keep occurring almost moment to moment. That's what's going on here. I feel like the kid in the never ending story where he's up reading his book all night and finally he's, out the window, he's shouting what the book is telling him to say. I mean, I can't get away from it. It's what's happening. I'm in
But
this.
that's the exciting part about it. That's part of the fun ride.
It is. It is a fun ride, and that's where I was saying, to most people, probably this would be like, ho hum, what a boring existence. But it's not. It's the most exciting, adventurous. It's the most exciting journey you could ever have,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just incredible what's happening. And there's no denying it.
Yeah, yeah,
Try.
and to be honest with you, Stephen, I appreciate that we're having this conversation. I'm already recording you because I really would like to post this to Foster and Kimberly as a possibility, because you get people talking amongst each other within a forum, and you really kind of can spark a lot of gin up a lot of energy, and get a lot of momentum going. Yeah, it is, what they're doing is very important, but they're also working outside of the scope of person to person. They're working on a much larger and grander scale with
Yes.
corporations and trying to get free energy and whatnot. But the way I see it, the change is not going to happen in yes, it's going to happen overall, but it's the one person who's going to start rolling the snowball, and that's going to add up, and that's going to add up to other people, and so I think it's really going to take people like you and I to just start conversation with each other. How's it going? What's going on? What's new in your life? And eventually that's going to get more people interested in being vulnerable. Really, that's all it is about. It's how difficult has it been in the past, putting that aside and looking at a new way of being, and having a different type of mindset. And little by little, you're going to get there.
And that's exactly what is happening. This is the way I perceive it. that you and I and others like us, we are the initiators. We are getting that ball rolling in whatever roles we're playing.
Absolutely.
You are, if you are bringing light, and I'm a messenger. Um, we each have our roles, and becomes further defined the more we play out those roles. It becomes clearer. The process, perfection is a process. It doesn't just come to you all at once. I suppose it could, but most of us, it's going to be through intent and effort, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and truthfully, like you say, I don't see this as any different than sitting around a corporate roundtable and brainstorming. So that's essentially
Yes.
what we're doing. We're brainstorming. How do we get from here to there? And what
Yes.
has worked for you? And, what new exciting tidbit have you found about yourself?
Yes, it is by doing it, and this is how it is done.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's why we're here right now having this conversation, and why we've had them in the past recently. So
Which
the whole
brings me to, I can't wait. I'm at the tip of my toes trying to anticipate what it is that you're going to say. With you had this thing in your email, and I don't have the email in front of me, but you're saying that everything's coming at you so fast. So
Yes.
I want to hear all about it.
Well, it is still in line with the messages.
You're
I'm
talking
not,
about the messages that the messages that I was hearing in other languages. Are we?
It is that it's all the messages. It's the
Okay.
ones that you are getting. You have like several channels going there.
Mm-hmm.
You have a dream channel where you're getting revealed these messages in what could be the ancient Hebrew. It could be an ancient angelic language or Sanskrit. There's debate about what is the original language.
Yeah.
And that is one avenue that's being pursued. The other one is your channelings that you received in the garden. Those, I think, are important. And
You're talking about the Council of Saturn.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, those, and the ones that the messages I get, and I just filled out the experiencer survey because I've had this trans-dimensional experience back in 1974, and I saw this light being, and I have further described that in a few instances and produced some images that were close to what I saw. And then I saw this guy on Alfred Lambermont Weber, the other guy. His name is Ray Hernandez. And he described the exact same scenario, the same experience, exactly what he saw, how he felt, his reaction. I mean, the way he described it was just, like it was verbatim from my own mouth. So I was just astonished at this, and I found him online, and he's part of this group called the Experiencer Forum, or I can't remember if it's a conference or group, but it's headed up by Edgar Mitchell, who is the sixth man to walk on the moon. Not that NASA gives any credibility to any of this. But at least he is an experienced and intelligent person, and I kind of got the sense that this was a scientific research thing that I could participate in. And so I did. I kind of hemmed and hawed about giving my personal information out, and then finally, without fear or tribulation, I just put it out there. And I know that I'm going to end up on some blacklist. If I disappear against my will, or they find me drowned in the Skeeter Pond.
Steven, stop right there. You're venting up fear.
Yeah.
How do you know that? You can't,
Well, if it happens, it's not because I fell down and hit my head. So, no.
Remember that what you think about, you're
Yes.
creating. So just don't think about it that way. Just
Yes.
look at it a different way.
No. There are things that have become very clear to me about the reality of things, and they're incontrovertible. They can't be argued with. They are so by their own revelation. You can't really change it. So I'm just the messenger. If it looks like I'm making it up, it's because I'm in error in my interpretation. But the interpretation has been getting better and better as the messages keep coming in. And the messages come in a way that they are revealed to my mind. It is through insight. It's not through some kind of apparition that comes out of the crystal or the materialization of Moranian and Visayas, from Andromeda. It just comes directly into my mind, and it's like a gift, but you have to ask for it.
Absolutely.
When you ask for it, there it is. It comes to me every time, almost without delay. Um, as soon as the channels are clear and the distractions aren't there. So yeah, there's been of messages coming in and adding great clarity into what's actually going on. And one of the things back in the 3D world type of scenario with Jade Helm, this became clear to me that the Jade Helm is a giant experiment in fear and control, and it will certainly work if enough people fall for it. If enough people believe that, oh yeah, this terrible thing's going to happen. Well, the idea I came up with is the ultimate false flag. Ultimate false flag would consist of the power structure creating an event that looks like it's an astronomical event. Say, for instance, an asteroid. I think that what they would do is create a huge plasma ball that would strike the atmosphere, would eliminate all power to all devices, and make it look like it came from outer space, what do we do? Well, this is why, they have the underground facilities. They'll go underground. They'll leave the rest of us up here with enough military to mop us all up into the FEMA camps. This is what I see. This is a possible scenario if enough people fall for it. I think this is what's going to happen. Again, only if enough people succumb to fear and actually, and make it happen.
Well, again, two things there. That is if enough people think about it, but if enough people sustain that vision. So
Right.
That's where the name of the game is
Right.
moving away. In other words, okay, I get it. That is a possibility. Okay, obviously it's what the oldest technique in the book,
Right.
which is problem, reaction, solution.
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
seen that happen over and
Yes.
over. However,
old-
this is the part where real awakening and ascension is going to be key. Those of us who are awakened and can recognize what is happening must, it's imperative, okay, that we shift the energy and say, observe it. Yes, that's a possibility. However, here's what I choose to hold my vision on. And you have to hold your vision. That's going to be part of alchemy. That's part of the messages that I'm getting from the Council of Saturn. As you envision it, as you are, you shall create. So,
That's right.
we need to move away from sustaining a vision of fear.
Yep.
And materializing that vision,
Right.
which is what's happened, because that's the old paradigm, and they know that we're trapped in that silly, loop. They know it because most of us are, or most people are, still asleep, and so if they still got you trapped in the matrix, what's going to happen? You're going to react. So it's inevitable you're going to create that which is still an illusion, not in potentiated, but not completely materialized. If you hold that vision, so
See, yes, it's out there in that unified field of possibilities. That's out there.
Absolutely.
Are we going to find our way to it, or are we going to find our way to the city of light?
Hello. So that's why it's so important to just take a deep breath, recognize what's happening, why is it happening, what is the direction that they're wanting to take us, and turn our face completely around. The moment that we turn our face, our head, our emotion, everything in a whole different direction, then we're disempowering them. And again, here's where I get into an issue with the them, because the whole awakening process is not about us versus them or us against them. It's about an us. And until we're able to make peace within each person, that there is no them, that it's me, I am. We all, every one of us is the I am. That's where you're continuing the friction. So long there's friction, there's absolutely no peace. So again, this starts with me. The buck stops with me.
That's exactly right. And see, we know the ultimate secret. We have become aware of it because we have done the work that has prepared us in order to receive it. You can't, it's something that is recognized. It can't be told to you. It's something that you come to recognize as. So that's what we've done. So we know the secret. And that's why I know this Jade Helm thing isn't going to happen. It's not, for one thing, it's not going to work. Number two, it's just not going to happen. No matter how much money they put into it, how much time and effort and wishful thinking and all their power, all of their might, all their wealth, it's for naught.
Not to mention, Stephen, that one of the things that we are not completely aware of is how much help we're getting that we don't see. I mean, there are so many extraterrestrial civilizations, entities of light, just beaming upon us for the higher vibration to be exalted upon our little planet. That it not seeing it obviously is difficult for us, because we continue to be in the state of, well, are we being helped? Are we not being helped? And obviously, it's up to us to, put up our bootstraps and say, okay, we have to do this. We can't just sit here and depend on poor little me, daddy's going to help me, because that's not what this is about.
That's the illusion.
That's the illusion. I mean, if we continue just sort of sitting by the wayside and being couch potatoes and saying, oh, it'll eventually get taken care of, well, that's just not going to work. However, needless to say, we are receiving a lot of energetic boost. And that boost is aiding us collectively in awakening. And so, from that standpoint, I really believe that, like you say, this is not going to happen, but it's not going to happen because of, the plan's going to fail, blah, blah, blah. I mean, obviously, those are ways of languaging it. But it's not going to happen simply because we're really waking up.
And we're not going to let it happen.
And we're not going to let it happen.
It's already a foregone conclusion. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Because it can't. It can't. So, that whole thing with the external help, that is like the door will be opened, but you must knock on it first, and you have to enter that door. Those vibrations, the higher vibrations, the higher frequencies are coming, and some call it the wave. There are other ways of describing it. They're probably all in part correct and none completely, just like everyone. Nobody has all the answers, but we each have our piece. So we help each other in connecting the dots, and we can see the whole picture. And one of the questions in that experiencer survey, it came down to, because I had this light being experience, it kind of took me down this path into religious and spiritual questions, and they're trying to determine whether you're actually, in fact, absolutely crazy or not. So I answered all these questions, and one particular question came up about are ETs really the new, or are angels really the new ETs? And I really had to, there was only a yes or no answer on it. And so I had to really think about that one, because that is one of the questions that keeps coming up to me now. Is there a difference, or are they one and the same? Are ETs a manifestation in people's consciousness of the old angels? That's what I'm gonna be able to find out before September 20th. I'll have the answer.
Let me ask you something. Just
Yeah.
I'm going to be devil's advocate.
Oh,
What importance is that of to you? I mean, because
okay.
to me, it's like, what difference does that make? We're all
Right.
one. We're all energy.
Ultimately, it doesn't make any difference, but it does insofar as our purpose. Because just because we have been privy to the secret knowledge and we know what the answer is, our purpose is, okay, so how do we get this out where it might benefit others other than ourselves, rather than just sitting on it, which I would just love to do. I'd rather just go fishing, personally. But
Then you need to go fishing every now and then, at least.
I do once in a while.
Yeah.
But you still always come back. So until we actually move on to our true destination, our home, we are still bound
But
to.
Stephen, we're home. We're home.
Well, we're home. We're home. Yes, but we still have our tentacles in this 3D thing, and we're still here to share this information, and for those who are prepared to hear it, and or prepare those who aren't, so that they can receive it, whatever those things are. But the thing about the difference between the ETs and the angels that may come into play because of this reason, people's perceptions. They may be much more inclined to believe there is an extraterrestrial presence and totally disbelieve about the old archangels of the Old Testament, whereas really they're one and the same. But the ETs are put there in consciousness so that people will get the right idea. They still get the message. They may be one and the same. And I think that for me, it's just a personal quest to find out, because the whole question of sovereign authority and the eternal spirit of human beings I think these two are one and the same. That eternal spirit, that the soul links between mind and the ultimate source, which people have incorrectly called God, or they've incorrectly deferred to other gods as God. And I know it's confusing. The language is hard to get past. But there is a link between this sovereign authority, the knowledge of sovereign authority in individual human beings, and that eternal spirit that the soul links to the source. Of this, I'm almost absolutely certain. I have just a little bit more research to go. And it revolves around Pelagius, who was the first one to stand up against the church back in I think it was the 1400s or 1500s with St. Augustine. And he was the one to bring up the idea that, wait a minute, maybe we are being deceived about original sin, and that more and more original sin sounds like blaming the victim. It just does not ring true to me anymore. And I'm beginning to question whether there was actually any original sin way back when. I don't think there was. I think this is how they've created this matrix. They've blamed us for something that didn't happen, and are continuing to punish us with this matrix that they've created. And it's all just a holographic deception. That's where I refer. I think I've referred to it somewhere along the way as the hologram of deception. Now, whether that hologram is deception or truth, I've still got a few more months to go before I figure that one out. But by this fall, I'm going to know the answers to most of these questions.
Stephen, let me put my 2 cents if I may, but I'm being guided to doing it a little different way.
Yeah.
So if you will work with me here and allow me to offer my love and light at the moment and tell you a little feedback. I'm hearing your voice really uptight.
Yeah.
I'm hearing confusion.
Sure.
And so here's what I'd like to offer. If you'll take a breath, a nice deep breath.
I already have.
Settle back a little bit into your chair. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Deep breath. And tell me where in your body is Stephen.
Solar plexus.
Stay in your space. Close your eyes and stay in your space.
Yeah.
Put your hand in the part of your body where Stephen is.
Right here.
There.
Yeah.
What's that for Stephen?
Solar plexus.
And what the solar plexus is what? What does that represent?
It is the heart-centered pinnacle of the body.
Okay, if you were to say that from your heart, from that heart center of the pinnacle of your body, not from your head as you're saying it in a very intellectual, logical way,
Right.
and you continue to hold that space for yourself, what is that?
Well, that's the force of love that is coming from the eternal source.
Are you still speaking from your head, Stephen? Go back, go back. Just stay with me. Stay with it. It's not easy. It's very vulnerable, isn't it? Just breathe.
Right.
There's one word. What is the one word where Stephen is?
Love.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is love? Home?
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah. So are you home?
Yeah, we're already there.
There you are.
Yeah, that's the Jerusalem in that Pentecost video that we looked at. This is what he referred to as Jerusalem, or what I refer to as building the golden city, the city of light. We are building that city. It's not a physical city in this 3D matrix projection. It is home.
It is home. And the moment that we move from home, from that space of unity, of oneness, of wordless, you need no words. You just have to be home. The minute that you move from there to rationalizing and yes, I get it that all these things are very interesting, and that we could go in exploring. And please understand, I'm not trying to wrong you. I understand the curiosity. I've been there. But I also understand that when we move away from that special place, that it's easy to go down the rabbit hole.
Well, going down the rabbit hole isn't for us because we already know.
Yeah.
And the words are not for you or for me, they're for the others. Because they're still in that matrix, they're still in that world. And the word is what is going to either bring them to the light or not. And so that's why it's so important. It's not important for us, per se.
Yeah.
Because we already know, we're already there. But I'm talking about our purpose and still dwelling here in 3D, which is becoming, more and more like more than an inconvenience.
Yeah. So what?
It's for them.
What do you feel? What is it that you feel? Because I'm still hearing it so loud coming out of you, Stephen.
Yeah.
I can sense that there's something really, really deep and palpitating within you that
Yeah.
says there is this purpose and I have to do something about it. What is it that you have to do or believe that you have to do so that you are in course or maintaining your course with your purpose?
Is to finish the work.
To finish the work.
Yeah.
Because if I don't finish the work,
Well, it's to finish my part of the work. It's not that I'm responsible for all of it, just
yeah,
my. I can't do anything more than my own little part of it. But until that's done, um, I don't want to have to come through again. If I have to cycle back through again, okay, well, that's maybe what we would call fate. But I'm trying to avoid that fate if I can, not so much just out of selfishness because I don't want to do it again, but that why should we continue to kind of fester in this deception, this deceptive hologram, any further than we have to? And then, I mean, the question of time and whether it really exists, that comes in. Um, but insofar as our current state, if we perceive it as time, then accept that as a given as it is. And if people evolve out of it as a result of this completion of the unfinished work, well, then there's the purpose. That's the meaning. Otherwise, it's either all for naught. Yes, I have my home and I'm going back there, or I'm there, but um, that's not why I came here. It's
yeah.
not. It's not just to take a ride on the inner tube down the river of life again, and merrily, 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 gently down the stream. Although there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite songs. Um,
And there's a
yeah, so
lot to be said.
that's where the words come in.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the right words in order to trigger the transformation that's happened in my own life for others.
Yeah.
And people are either going to hear it, who are prepared to hear, who have the ears to hear it, or they're not. There's
Yeah.
nothing I can do about that, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't be saying the words.
Oh no, I understand, and please understand. Here's what I see, and this is true for me as well. So it's a very vulnerable place to be, but
Yeah.
those of us who, like yourself, like you say, we come from another realm, another planet to aid the upbringing of light into this planet, feel a tremendous sense of obligation. Not well, I don't want to put it in the terms of obligation, because that kind of is like a chip on your shoulder, and I don't wear a chip on my shoulder. That's rather disempowering. So I want to turn it around in a different way. But needless to say, I feel a sense of duty, and I think that it is that sense of duty that I'm hearing coming from you. It's it's the pain, it's the ache in the heart. And it's that ache in the heart that keeps us going. So I can certainly sympathize and empathize with where you are. And
Right.
and at the same time, it is vital that we heal that pain, that internal pain, even though it propels us. It's kind of, it has a little bit of a duality to it, because it propels us, but at the same time, it keeps us 1 foot on the other side of the fence. So that's where I was coming from in wanting to help you not only express your emotion as to why this is so important to you, which is very clear you're very passionate about, but I also wanted to shed some light in that when you hold yourself with 1 foot on the other side of the fence, then it becomes rather, like you said, tedious, and it's like, why am I doing this? So
Right.
that the sense of joy just goes out the window.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. No.
Well, I mean, I don't mean it necessarily for you, but I'm saying for anybody who has that as a dilemma,
No,
Um,
that's just my own shortcomings on expressing what it is that I'm trying to say.
yeah.
And I constantly struggle with that. I'm often like correcting what I've said in my email messages to you. It's like, well, I said that, but really what it means is this.
Yeah.
And then when you get the context, it's like, oh yeah, okay. So that's the frailty of our Babylon existence with human language and why I'm so interested in it. If we were to have a universal language that we all understood, even Jacques Fresco with the Venus Project, he identified that as very critical in order to move humanity forward. And just to come back a little bit on the that having the foot in both sides, or the one leg in 3D and 4D and then going into fifth, um, that may be the purpose of the matrix or this hologram of deception, is that we need to have that there in order to drive people to make these choices in their life. Otherwise, there would really be no existence at all.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So
Bingo.
it's not a matter of eliminating the 3D hologram of deception. It is I guess a necessary evil, I guess if you want to put it that way. It has to be there as a platform for us to play out these roles in this existence. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, this whole thing about Jade Helm and all this, the whole purpose of this is not to get rid of the hologram. It is to basically escape the hologram, to avoid the illusory effects of it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a prison and quicksand at the same time. You can kind of get stuck in it. You can perceive that you're being forced into it, that you're being held against your will, but it comes back again to that free will thing. We all make choices, and this is where I've had to backtrack on my thoughts about judgment. There is such a thing as judgment. We do it every second. Every time we make a choice, we make a judgment. And the word discernment is really coming up big here these days. There's a few other words too. They'll come up. But discernment is a big one. Because without that, of course, you're lost. It's very critical. Everything hedges on discernment. If you attach to something that you're being told that is an illusion, or is not true, or is incomplete, well, that's why you suffer in 3D, because we don't have complete knowledge. It has been withheld, and perhaps it's been withheld, for a higher purpose. It's possible. It's the game. It's the rules of the game that we are playing out. But once we understand those rules, then we know that we're equipped with what we need in order to find our way through with no external authority. This is where sovereign authority comes in. We already have answers. That's why the other big word is recognition. Discernment and recognition. Recognition. It's remembering. It's the act of remembering, is recognizing. It's something that you've seen before and you recognize it. These two are big.
Yeah.
So as far as the words go, I'm getting the words. It's just a matter of, can I phrase the words in a way where people can hear them? I guess that's my personal struggle right now.
Yeah. A couple of things I want to pitch in on that, because you're hitting the nail, and there are more than one nails involved in there. And you're hitting them all right on the head. Let's go back to the point of friction, because we talked about this also in the Saturday discussion of Thrive. So I want to sort of round up again to that point. Friction is a necessary, you're calling it a necessary evil, but I'm calling it a necessary function. It's a catalyst. But it also has to do with the world of polarity. You have negative and positives. There is no growth if you don't have any motion. So friction, like you said, it's a necessary aspect of this third dimensional, and I say yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Now, why that is, My guess is, having studied the law of one for quite some time now, part of it has to do with the harvest, or which is another word for ascension. In the law of one, it's written as the harvest.
Yeah.
But if you notice the conversations between Don and Ra, there have been very few souls who have advanced in the past. The harvest has been very, very small, almost neglectable. So
There's been a drought.
there's been a drought. So my sense is that these things are happening so that there is more pressure applied on for awakening. We need to put a little bit more heat to that bowl of popcorn so that
Right.
more kernels transform from the regular grain of corn to a white little, puff of white popcorn. And so if you don't apply the heat, that's the law of entropy. There's no transformation.
Yes,
So,
that's what you're sensing here is the heat.
yeah.
The popcorn is happening. What I'm saying is the popcorn is popping all over the place here, because I am applying that heat.
Yeah.
That's what you're seeing. This is where you're going to hear it in my voice. Yeah, it's about the words. It's not for me. I already have what I need and what I know. It's about the work. So, yes, the polarity was another big one. That little quip about service to self, service to others. You can't have one without the other. That's about polarity. It's not a matter of that, oh, we're just trying to all be in this positive la-la land.
No, that's not the point.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
It's not. You're not going to have that conception without its opposite. And I mean, I knew about this even before I went to college. I had already been granted the knowledge or the wisdom of that, and I studied it in college. I went through the debates of the philosophers on it. That's where, again, it plays back into the idea of this matrix and the hologram of deception. It's necessary. It's part of the polarity. It is part of the polarity.
Yeah.
It's not just that we think that it is. It is, and either recognize it or we don't.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so, again, playing devil's advocate, if you do recognize that it's part of the polarity and you do recognize that it's just simply part of the process, then how do you choose to be? Because how you choose to be
Yes.
is not only empowering you to breathe and to stay put, ground your feet in the fire, but also to be able to do it in a way that it's not going to burn you. And that's the trick.
The answer is so simple, and yet is monumental to achieve. It's not that the answer is difficult even to figure out, but to actually do it, well, then that's the transformation. Or the other word coming up is transfiguration. Now that one I haven't got so far with yet, but that one is like lurking in my near future, because it is this process. And I just wrote about it. I wrote about a little parable about my rooster crossing the street, why the chicken crossed the street. And it was about fruit from the spiritual garden, because someone asked me about putting out some posts about my gardening efforts in the backyard. And I didn't want to tell them that, well, it's because I've been spending more time on the spiritual garden and where there's real fruit, instead of the one in the yard that's like full of weeds and insects that are eating everything. And I know that one is an externalization of the other, but there are some things, the important ones, are really doing well. And that's the analogy that I made. So I came up with this story about the chicken crossing the street. You can see it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
I think I saw part of it, but I didn't have an opportunity. It was on Facebook. Right? Is that the little story that was on Facebook?
Yeah, it's there if you want to see it. It's not required reading or anything. I'm just following up with these messages. Again, It's like, well, how do I deal with my friend who wants to know about the garden, but doesn't want to know about the spiritual garden? So I am attempting to find a way of weaving in the idea through the 3D way of illustrating the concept. Um, and this is part of the transfiguration process. This story about the chicken is that he becomes transformed. He finally understands, do no harm, and peace will come to you. Peace is the gift given to those who do no harm first, who first do no harm. I mean, it's so simple. There is no peace through might, but there is peace through light. It's just you got to get your head straight on the facts. Until you do, it's not going to flow.
Yeah, well, I have another little story for you. It's one that
All
my
right.
dad used to tell me when I was a little girl.
Okay.
It's called "You Can Take a Horse to the Water, but you can't make him drink."
Okay, this is a good one.
Because the truth of the matter is that when you're dealing with other people, and obviously this is something that you encounter on a everyday basis, I encounter it minute by minute, including in my own family, is, each person has their own perspective of truth. Your truth is not necessarily my truth, and vice versa. We each have our own understanding of what that is. And
Right.
for me to say that my truth is the truth, and for anybody else to say their truth is the truth, is again, stepping back into the illusion.
Yeah.
So no one, the first rule of thumb that would behoove us to adopt is we're not here to, what's the word, and I might botch it, proselytize, is that,
Oh, to preach the
to
word.
preach the word. Yeah.
Preach the word of the Lord.
No,
Yes.
sorry, that's not a boat that I want to get into. I'm certainly here to bring myself forth with my light, my gifts, my passion. But I'm not here to twist anybody's arm or coerce anybody into coming on board. And the
Well,
moment that I get into that boat, then I've done myself a disservice and anybody else a disservice.
that's right.
So not to answer, because I'm not trying to answer anything, but just as an understanding of what you just said about your friend who doesn't want to know about the rooster and the rooster spiritual work, then not that those ears are just not ready.
Yes, yes. That in the Seven Thunders book paints quite clearly that about casting your pearls before swine or in the wrong place. Now, this is kind of how I look at Facebook. It's like, anything I put out there is pretty much futility or a waste of time. But I still hang in there because of once in a while there is little nuggets of value in terms of the spirit or sharing this knowledge of the eternal. And every time I'm about ready to give it up completely, some little thing will happen. Like when you friended me, it's like, I was all ready to get out of it. And it's like, okay, there's got to be still some value here. And there has been. There has been some other little connections that have been part of this transfiguration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you see as your next step? I mean, you have so many coals in the fire right now. What do you see as your next step? What's calling you? What's tugging at your heart the most?
Well, I've pretty much committed to doing a 40-day study on the angelical language by Dr. John Dee and Mr. Edward Kelly from the 16th century, and following up on their work. I think that there's a couple of different directions that the work might take, and I'm refining that before entering into it, which will be around August 8th. So there's some preparation, to do ahead of time. I've got to get, I have to get things together. I have to get some questions together. Be prepared for this. It's kind of a rigorous, it's a 40-day period that you're dedicating to this process. And, some of the time I think, why am I even doing it? I mean, I already have the answers that I need. But on the other hand, it's like, well, no, that's not exactly true because I have the answers I need. But what about the answers that are there for the people who are ready to hear them? So that's why I'm doing it. I'm still dedicated to that process and want to follow through this. I think I already, I'm coming into it thinking that, well, I already have the answers, but I know that's not true. I have some of the answers, and I will get others out of it. So it's going to be a very worthwhile effort, no matter what I think the outcome is going to be.
One of the biggest illusions in 3D is the idea that we have to have all the answers.
No, we never are going to have all the answers.
No.
Well, maybe at the point of death and we return to the source, that eternal part of our being. Um, Even then, I don't think that we can comprehend the source or the entire unified field of consciousness. I just think that maybe that's beyond our scope, and there's not really no reason for us to know that. We don't even have to know all of that. We know that it exists. We know it's there. We know what its purpose is, but we don't have to comprehend the ultimate. To me, if that's the end game, then that's like it's service to self. There's no other reason for it. Nobody has to need or know that kind of power. What we have is enough.
Yeah. And when you get to that place of understanding the enoughness, I am enough.
Yeah.
This is enough. Then
Yeah.
suddenly the whole ball of wax changes because you've now seen the other side of the coin, and the other side of the coin is abundance.
Yes,
Isn't that ironic?
it is. Abundance comes when you're given the gift of peace, and the gift of peace comes by doing no harm. I mean, when you first
Who gives the gift of peace?
the eternal source,
Who gives the gift of peace?
you give it to yourself.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it all comes back to that, and once you understand this, everything falls into place.
Yeah.
Whole picture. In a way, there are no more questions and answers. But for the sake of playing this game here, yeah, I'm still going to go through and do the John D thing, and I'm going to put forth my best effort to complete the unfinished work to the extent possible.
Well, that sounds exciting, and I get to be the beneficiary of that because
Yeah.
then you're going to be helping me translate all those gibberish woo-woo something words that are coming into my dreams that I have no idea what they're saying.
Well, it's
So
to
I'm
say,
kind of being selfish now.
and it's not to say, I mean, in all fairness, I don't know that my interpretations are correct or any of that. These are just, my feeble attempts at looking for the answers, if there are any that are obvious. But as far as this 3D hologram of deception, I'm never. How am I ever going to be entirely certain of the interpretations? Well, maybe over time, the answers will be revealed or will evolve. But all I can do is the best at the time. I'm not saying that they're even accurate. I don't know. All I know is that I am being guided, I'm being protected, and I'm being given information. Now, someone else would say these words, okay, well, they mean this, and it could be an entirely different meaning. So what do they mean to me at that time and at that place with what I know? That is the process I'm trying to improve. Because if I am going to make any significant contributions to the unfinished work, that process needs to be perfected.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and you've said some key words in there, and I will encourage you to sustain those in your consciousness, and that is that I'm being guided.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're being guided and it feels right and it feels, soothing to you, it feels peaceful to you, then so be it. And just
Yes.
hold that in your forefront. And
It's yes.
the chips will fall as they may.
Yes, that's right. And this is usually through a very vigorous exercise of using reason and skepticism. It is the process. Affirmation is the process of negation. You eliminate all the other possibilities that are untrue, and when what you're left with is what is revealed to you as the ultimate truth, as we know it. So that's where discernment comes in and recognition. That's why these words are really prominent right now in this household. So, yeah, they're all being dealt with and quite successfully, like a symphony. It's like I'm a conductor, and the orchestra are the heavenly host, and we're playing out this thing, and it's a beautiful piece. That's the thing. There's so much beauty in it. Ah,
Well,
it's that city of light. It's
yeah.
just so incredibly beautiful,
I can
and the
relate to
sound.
that. I can
Yeah,
relate to that
yeah,
because the universe in it of itself is music. So your analogy is resonating with me, and when you feel that you're in that flow, in unison of creation and co-creation, that you're just directing, and it just then you're in it,
right.
you're in it, and awesome.
Yeah, it's a wonderful journey.
Well, Mr. Steven, we've been at it almost an hour, and I'm tickled pink for you. I I really am, because I can't wait to hear what comes out of after the 40 days. So when is it you're starting?
Around August 8th, and
Which
should
is which
end
is around the corner. Today's
right.
what, June? Just for the record of this video, today is July 22nd.
That's right. Yeah, so it should end right around the solstice. If I have to take a day or two off during that 40 days, that's okay. I think the blessed ones will forgive me for that. So
Oh
supposedly,
no, another one.
supposedly they take off Mondays. The Mondays are the day, and it's funny because when I got out of the corporate world, I took Mondays off. That was my day off. Where everyone else was usually going back to work, it's like, no, Monday's my day off. So
Now you
right,
gotta remember that the only one who is what's the word that I'm trying to use, who is establishing any kind of time frame is you. The blessed ones live in a non-linear
right.
time, so they don't care whether it's Monday, Wednesday, Sunday night, 6 o'clock, rain or shine.
It's for our benefit.
Anyway, we just got to laugh it out because, hey, life is sweeter that way. So, in that note, I am going to move on. I've got I've got interviews that I have to translate from Spanish to English, and Huffington Post articles that are waiting on me to load up on the site, and I'm falling really behind. So if I want to have the blessed ones on my side, I'm going to need to get on with my due diligences.
That's right. Let's do it now, and we'll take Monday off. So
Stephen,
I'm looking forward to that.
it's been awesome chatting with you, and we'll stay at it on email. I really have so much fun when I hear from you. It's like, to me, it's like, woohoo! It's almost like I don't know what it feels like to those who are in boot camps or in away from home in the army. But hearing from you, getting emails from you, to me, that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, what a relief. I'm hearing from family who
Yeah,
So
out here on the front lines,
you're in the front lines.
it's the exciting life of a monk. That's what it's.
Anyway, we'll talk. We'll talk again, and keep the smile.
as you say, love and light.
Love and light.